November 20th, 2024. We would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the Treaty 8 First Nations territory, the long-standing presence of the elders and the ancestors of Treaty 8. And through this acknowledgement, we extend recognition and respect to BC, Treaty 8 First Nations, and their land, and all that call the Peace Country home. That needs to be edited again. It's the old land acknowledgement. Number 3, adoption of agenda. 3.1, recommendation that council adopts the agenda. Can I get a seconder? Oh, are you seconding?
Sorry, Chad, you want to go higher?
Yeah. Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Thank you. Any discussion regarding today's agenda? Okay. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Item number 4, adoption of the minutes. 4.1, recommendation that council adopts the minutes from the November 6, 2024 regular council meeting. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Johnston, thank you. Councillor Wall?
I have 2 points of discussion.
Okay.
Firstly, I will be voting opposed to these minutes as I was not in attendance to this meeting. So
Neither was I.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Oh shoot.
We could table it.
We may have to.
Tabling it might be a good option. And there is an amendment I'd like to make to the minutes that I
Okay.
was not here for. I did arrive late at around 8:30 after another engagement.
Yeah.
And council was just packing up and getting ready to go.
Yeah.
The minutes say that the meeting ended around 7:20 something.
Yeah. So we actually have 2 sets of minutes because our new CAO, Mr.
These are the
Chbosky.
minutes we go by.
Yes. He's already fixed them, so it was 8:23.
I read the email and not.
No worries, but we are gonna have a bit
Barely down.
of a quorum issue with voting, so I'm gonna put the motion on the floor that we table these minutes for the next council meeting, seconded by Councillor Ravel. Thank you very much. Any discussion regarding the tabling? All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, perfect. Introduction of late items, none. Public hearings, none. Delegations, none. And unfinished business and business arising from the minutes. So that's 8.1. Anybody want to read that?
Recommend that council adopts the flag policy for the village of Pusku.
Seconded by Councillor Wall. Thank you very much. Discussion. Councillor Ravel?
So last time we had discussed about, not having to go into all the specifics of this, that, and the other that may be covered by other flag codes and whatnot. I see that the prohibitions has been altered to essentially just say that conflict with the values of the village will not be approved. So it's just kind of a heads up, like if this is something that's...
Yeah, if it doesn't follow our written values and village vision for the village of Pusku, it's something that can then be asked of council. And it kind of gives us a bit of that control and that option.
Yeah. And upon reviewing, we're just talking about the actual basics of it, and then who can initiate it to go at half-mast. The only residual piece is the $300 call-out on statutory holidays for staff. Can we simply just have some other person come out to do it, or whose job is it to change the flag?
If we remember from the conversation we had with our interim CAO, Mr. Anderson, he was stating that while that does work when the holiday is on like the Friday, it makes it difficult when it's on the Monday, because if you put the flag at half-mast on the Friday and it's not recognized until the Monday, it can look a bit not so great. So that was his concern with that. So the issue is that if we put too stringent of language on that, we're going to end up kind of snuffing ourselves when it comes to those moments, right? So there was that concern with that. And then really part of it comes down to the visions and values of Puskupi, right? So we identified these days, not just because we're federally supposed to, but because really it plays into the values of our community. And so while I do understand the concern, I would hate to have it where we lower something for like the veterans on a Friday and it's not recognized till the Monday, and then some people are seeing it as being a bit obtuse kind of deal. So that's my only reason where I am agreeing with interim CAO Mr. Anderson. Yes.
In that regard, simply that it doesn't specifically compel anyone to do it. It doesn't say who does the raising and lowering because it'll be operational. Fair enough. And yeah, the 7 prohibitions make sense. The only other piece, I know this sounds like wordsmithing, but review of policy, this policy shall be reviewed. I would suggest an amendment to may be reviewed so we don't unintentionally in 5 years end up breaching this policy somehow. So my only suggestion would be, well, I make the motion therefore to amend it to be may instead of shall under 8.
Okay, I second that. That sounds absolutely fine.
Good work.
Okay, all right. So, any other question? Councillor Wall?
Regarding the original motion on the flag policy, I just have a point of discussion that I want to make publicly available. Is I do appreciate the change to language that keeps the policy open for mayor, council, or CAO to decide whether or not to lower the flag. So, God forbid, there's a death in the community or whatever, somebody could ask the mayor or CAO or council to lower the flags for an important individual or someone who's dedicated their time and effort into the community, and that is still open and on the table.
Yes.
Where the way it was worded before, it was very restricted on what we could do. So I do appreciate that change. Hopefully that doesn't have to happen very often, but I like that it is there in this new version of the policy.
Okay, wonderful. So what I'm going to do, Mr. Sapolsky, is I'm going to put a motion on the floor that includes the amendment. Okay, so I'm going to put the motion on the floor that council accepts the new flag policy with the amendment presented by Councillor Ravel. Can I get a second on that? Councillor Wall, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. All right, moving on to new business. 9.1. Take it away.
Subject approval by municipal insurance provider, council approves entering a service agreement with Argo Road Maintenance Incorporated to provide road sanding services on the identified portion of Highway 2 within the village of Puskupi.
Can I get a seconder? Councillor Ravel. I have made some notes on this that I would like council to kind of think about. So first off, just in case this question comes up, I would like council to note that on page 2 there is a line within that box that talks about how it would be a $200 fee plus additional fees outside of regular hours, that call-out fee. But I will add, I am extremely concerned about the village taking this on. So I have 3 reasons. My concern is that our public work crew is extremely busy as it is now. We do not have extra manpower, and this would be outside of their scope of work, which is my second concern. They are union. We would be bargaining outside of their union as well. That's another issue. And my third issue is the liability bit as well. So I do have 3 concerns. I know it does talk about the liability bit within this report that was brought forward, but it's the bargaining outside of the union that is also quite rickety for me as well. Yes, Councillor Wall.
I may have misunderstood this document when going through it, which I have been known to do. But am I correct in the understanding, sounds like a misunderstanding, that this was basically, we had a contract with Argo to deal with the highway, because it's the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure's lands, not ours. But it's within our boundary.
So it's the highway that's owned by...
It's the highway, which our public works haven't been dealing with previously.
Yeah.
And it would be, the contract is up, and it'd be going back into...
No, this is brand new.
So what am I missing, I guess is my question.
Well, so basically there was concerns brought forward about, remember last year there were members of the public that were concerned about the hill not being gravelled enough, and response time. So Argo has admitted that there's a bit of a capacity issue there, and that they aren't able to respond to this hill as early as some of our travelers would like, and so they have approached us as the village of Puskupi to contract out our public works guys to have them take it over. This is a brand new contract. This has not been brought forward to the union.
So this would be village staff
Yes.
working on ministry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
other jurisdictions.
I apologize for my gross misunderstanding of this, because I thought it was,
Easy peasy lemon
they do
squeezy.
the highway, they want to continue doing the highway?
Yeah.
Okay, so
They
that's,
want us to look after this.
They sure do.
they want us to look after it.
That passing the buck that everybody loves to do so much. Councillor Rowell.
So essentially, it would be an agreement where if Argo's facing some capacity issue, they say, hey, village, can you sand this portion that's within your village boundaries on Highway 2?
Yeah.
But we are not held responsible for it. It still lays with Argo. We are simply just a service provider if available.
It does not state that.
It doesn't state that. Yeah.
So nowhere within what they're proposing does it state that we would not hold.
Free of all liabilities.
That's right.
Should this be a conversation for a closed agenda?
That was my confusion too.
Well, at this point in time, they are presenting something to us. We're more than welcome to look at it. If it were to go any further, honestly, my recommendation to this council would actually be to pass this back and have staff look into the liability as well as speak with the union. I don't feel we're anywhere near prepared to make any motions or votes on this at this point.
I do have a point of discussion after Councillor Rattle.
I spoke, so I don't know. It's up to you, Chair. Okay. So what I'm thinking too is, yes, what about the union? What are comparable rates for this sort of service? Because it's just a number on a page right now. If it was a situation where we assist if needed, like they call on us, but they're still the ones who are solely responsible for it. And then also, we would essentially be then a subcontractor, because the contract is between the ministry and Argo. We would end up becoming a subcontractor in this regard for sanding services. There's a few unanswered questions is what I'm getting at. I think there's more answers required here. It's lovely that they've approached us on this, and we could see, but what's the wear and tear on the vehicles? What's the cost? What's the call out piece? Who's liable, you know? And actually, there's a few unanswered questions, but I wouldn't extinguish this completely. I think let's explore it. I think
Important background from administration. It is currently under insurance review, so we haven't received any approval or authorization from the insurance provider. Union review has not been conducted yet. No communication has been exchanged on behalf of this topic with the union. And I do agree that administration should be trying to process a data-driven procedure for this, just based on labor costs and competitive industry.
And capacity.
Capacity is a large one. Yeah. I understand the unique blend of what this situation does arise. Again, this is a critical asset, so when we do have to consider emergency measures and emergency evacuation procedures, Highway 2 is critical to that.
Yeah.
But again, we can't necessarily take on that type of precedent and leverage at this point. We'll have further data from administration for the December 4th meeting to give a more clarity-driven decision for the members of the Mayor Council.
Councillor Wall.
I would like to make the motion to table this to December 4th in the closed portion of the meeting so that we can speak
Freely about it?
freely about it in a way where we wouldn't be bargaining outside of the flag group.
For sure. Can I get a second on that? Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Thank you. Any other discussion regarding Councillor Wall's motion? Councillor Rabel?
I think its ultimate purpose would be we can provide if needed, but it's not fully on us as like a full-blooded subcontract.
We
But
don't want to take on it.
I think it's lovely to explore capacity because ultimately sand on the hill is what people care about when they're sliding back down it.
True.
Or when it's closed for a day.
We can't.
We don't want to say, no, do this and then never come back to it.
Yeah.
Oh no, who's looking after that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
I agree with Councillor Wall. I look forward to seeing what staff brings forward, and thank you for motioning put it into the closed agenda at that time. And I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much.
The tabling is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tabling and yeah.
And that's for December 4th, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. 9.2 recommendation.
The council adopts the housing needs report.
Seconded by Councillor Wall. Thank you very much. And discussion, Councillor Wall.
Very in-depth report. Wonderful to see the amount of effort that the regional district has put into this report, especially on our behalf, because it's a It's very in-depth. If the public are
Very
watching
thorough.
this, it's almost 100 pages of housing needs assessment for us. And two things that I take away from it are, we have an aging population, and we don't have enough housing stock to bring people in and bring the economy back to replace those who are aging, maybe coming out of the workforce. So I think that's something, those are the two big takeaways I have from the report. If we can have discussion on that, I think it could be important.
Sorry, I need to huff so much.
He disagrees.
Councillor Ravel, yes.
This is fantastic information. I really appreciate some of the methodologies utilized here. What I'm seeing from this, some concerns with population fluctuations, concerns with aging populations, concerns with education of populations. Income actually seems rather okay, really.
Yeah.
Like the income, like certain entire cohorts, we don't seem to have people in those income brackets. It seems to actually be relatively okay. But anyways, there are some folks that are on tough times. And the other concern too is the age of structures. A lot of the structures, I think that certain table was the whole area, but a lot of things were built in the 60s and 80s. Now, as those things come to their 50-year lifespan, we're entering that now, and we've been in it. So what does it look like? So not only what do we need to build for the future, what do we need to replace that already exists? You know, even to stagnate is to still maintain what you have, for goodness sakes.
Well, that's the point about asset management, right? Is really looking at.
And then the other interesting piece is in here, it does also advocate or suggest that we should explore more favorable approaches in our zoning bylaw, considering parcel size, considering setbacks, considering the size of lots, the size of structures, the minimum unit sizes, parking requirements. There's a lot of things that are actually identified in this.
Quite interesting. Those are a lot of concerns that yourself and Councillor Wall brought up in the past.
But they do come up in the report as key issues.
Oh, vindicated. How dare we? Anyways, what I'm getting at essentially is I don't want this to just sit, do nothing, and collect dust. I want to see how, and then ultimately from all of this, there are so many factors. This is a complex problem. This is something that is built infrastructure, which takes a long time to ship, right? It's many people making many decisions about what's best for themselves, their family, and the property, as well as the village making decisions as well. So how do we tee ourselves up for success in the future with what's been identified? But then also, what considerations need to be made for our OCP? I know this is a terrifying thing to propose, but what considerations may we need to make in our OCP? And then what considerations may we need to make in regards to our zoning bylaw?
So I think from the OCP level of things, I think we are quite right on track for where we should be.
Mm-hmm.
It's more the zoning bylaw that this would have the most effect on it when looking at it.
Okay.
And really, if I remember correctly, and Mr. Cebulski, I'm not sure if you've looked into this yet or not in your short period that you've been here, but our zoning bylaw has not been adopted as of yet because we were waiting for the OCP to be completed. Is that correct?
Yes, so it is a proposed project activity through Urban Systems to be compounding the OCP once ratified after third reading.
Yeah, and then after that, we'll be moving on to the zoning bylaw for then council to look at adopting at that point in time. So we do still have room, really, to use the information that we have gathered. We've actually received quite a few documents from the PRRD and from different versions and sub-reports from our OCP that we could actually use to really do a deep dive into our zoning bylaw as is. Because honestly, gentlemen, we actually haven't really looked at our zoning bylaw since our first year. And I don't know about you, but I've learned a heck of a ton since that time.
I've learned how bad our zoning bylaw might actually be.
So it's like, honestly, I think really, we're not looking at it with fresh eyes, but I think we could potentially be looking at it with a bit more experience, guys. And I would be interested to see the conversations that we usually have around that. Mm-hmm. Councillor Wall?
If I may turn your attention, Mayor, to page 44 of the assessment, and or page 62 of the agenda, however you prefer.
You know me, I'm a laptop gal. Okay, page 44.
Oh, yeah.
So this chart here is what really grabbed my eyes and brought me towards that zoning bylaw conversation. Because homes in BC, as per BC Building Code, are designed to last approximately 50 years. So 50-year lifespan. A majority, or almost a majority, 44% of our housing was built prior to 1980. Which means we have older homes that are aging out and are requiring maybe potentially major renovations or replacement that we'll be seeing in the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And the way our bylaw is right now, it makes it very difficult to actually replace those homes or retrofit them to modern standard. So that number right there, that 34% between 61 and 80 and the 10% prior to 1960 is that's a major number right there that stuck out to me because it means a lot more than it might appear to just on the page.
Yes, Councillor Rabbi?
Actually, and the other concern would be on page 67, just a little bit after that, private households buy housing below standards. Who's is up there? Dawson's at 6%, Hudson Hope at 6%, Poos is at 13%. Out of our 315 private households, 40 apparently are below adequate standards, requiring major repairs and investments. I'm not, those are private landowners and their own private structures, of course, but how do we navigate that going forward as well, right? As these structures age out. But then it's considering, okay, well, who lives there? What if it's a senior on a fixed income? What if it's a single income household? What if it's a no income household? There are considerations there to be made. So how do we support that? Because the risk with blanket changes in zoning, or to make it more restrictive, or to prohibit this, that, and the other, to try to say, oh, we're going to generate investment by having the big houses that get the big returns. It's a village, people still have to live here, right? And the concern is that if we make it too restrictive, as people demolish, they might not rebuild, or they'll rebuild smaller. In regards to investment and development, if somebody wants to build a new house, do they choose a lot here? Do they choose a lot elsewhere? Because the return on investment, yes, property should be exclusively an investment, but it's a consideration that people make, especially with the middle class dream of your house is your biggest asset. People still pursue that. I personally myself think of my house as an investment, right? And if I am in a locale, in a jurisdiction where the zoning is restrictive in such a way where I can't improve this, I can't add on this, I can't add value here, I can't do that, I can't do that, then I'm going to take my money elsewhere. And that's the risk, because our population numbers have gone down, right? You sell a house, it goes from one person, a family of 5 to a person or 2, right? Anyways, not to belabor the point, I think there's a vast array of considerations to be made. It sounds like we're going to filter that through, especially in our discussions regarding our zoning bylaw, because that's still a window of opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that's a healthy conversation to come.
Yeah, and so I think what I'm really hearing from council is we're very appreciative of the work and the document that the PRRD has done, which is phenomenal, and that this could actually stem into some great conversations when we're focusing on our zoning bylaw after we've completed our OCP, which we are extremely close to actually finishing. We should probably have that done, I'm hoping, in the new year. And then it looks like 2025, we could potentially have some very interesting zoning conversations, which I'm kind of looking forward to. Councilor Wall?
May I suggest a zoning workshop similar to that we did for a strat plan when I was in.
Okay.
Have a day where council comes together and we just look at that bylaw and go, where exactly do we see the problems and how is that affecting things? And we go through that over a few hours before it comes to council to vote on. So that instead of having that major conversation and kibosh a whole budget meeting or whatever it could be.
You know what, that's actually really, really smart, because we've had some very thorough workshops within this room in the past year that I think have really helped us grow. And I think that that could potentially be another great way. And we're really lucky because we have Mr. Sabalski, who is our new CAO, who is quite experienced in a lot of these things. So I would be really interested to see what his take is. We have a brand new set of eyes who has been in multiple different provinces and communities and territories. That's right.
Yeah.
So I would be very interested to kind of see what his take is on it, because I know that a lot of the work that you've done previous to Puskupi is phenomenal. So
And it's based on zoning densification.
I know.
Um,
Yeah.
So I think it would be very beneficial for us to host that workshop that Councillor Wall has suggested. It'd be compounding the work that's already been in the preceding workshop that was done for the OCP in the previous year. Plus, majority of the TPAs that will be available from the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation over the next few years are going to be strictly based on middle housing units, infill, and high density type classifications.
So if we can beat them to the, if we can anticipate the regulations they're going to be pushing on us, we might be able to change our bylaw once.
Yes.
Rather than multiple times.
Yes,
I like
Absolutely,
it.
and funding streams will be available for us to assess the feasibility of doing that bylaw draft and change.
Well, it sounds to me like you've got Mr. Svalsky very excited.
Oh,
about
yes.
Something he plans
He's
on
interested.
doing. 2 years and finally.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that's got a new pet project to add to your job jar. So,
And there will be a CMHC Housing Accelerator Fund top-up coming out for an intake in 2025, so I will keep everyone in council privy to that.
Do we know when that's coming out?
Ooh, I want to say the previous intake in 2023 was in September, and then wardings and recipients were notified of their status of application in Q1 of 2024. Then the first round of HAF top-up through CMHC this year was available around the same timeline,
September,
August to October-ish, and then we usually find out the subsequent results Q1 of the following year. So.
okay. Well, gentlemen, I feel like we've answered quite a few questions and have some things to look forward to. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of adopting the PRD Housing Needs Assessment? And that is carried.
Oh, I just have one more comment.
Well, good. Save it when we're having our budget talk, because I bet you this will be our zoning talk, I bet you this will be a featured document within it.
It was a thing that we could do today, but anyways.
Oh, why do you, see, I was like on a roll. On a roll. Okay.
Add it to your report.
Loophole.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to 9.3.
That council discusses the 2025 council meeting schedule and council portfolios and presented.
Seconded by Councillor Wall. Thank you very much. You'll see I've moved some portfolios around. So I've moved people around. If at any time you're not able to meet the requirement of any of these portfolios, please let me know now, because we will absolutely move you.
You've changed them around since the agenda went out?
No, I've changed them. So Councillor Wall, you would be School and Education, South Peace Health, RCLC, and Site C. So it should still be.
Oh, it's the same.
And I'm an alternate, so I should join you in some of that school stuff.
Councillor Wall?
I would like to make the recommendation that Councillor Rabel and I do a bit of a swap here. If he could maintain school and education
Okay.
due to scheduling, and I'm willing to accept in return the RCMP and fire department.
Okay.
To keep
Councillor
that.
Rabel, do you accept that switch? He just says no.
I'm fine for that for the moment, for the sake of argument. We're working on some good things. Honestly, my approach to school and education has been just keep the school open. So, and we've been working on the child care task force, and I've been dealing with the college level thing. The majority of folks that live in the village don't have post-secondary education, as per the study that we've just seen, but also I knew that previously. So anyways, it's just educational advocacy. So I can continue with that work.
Sure.
And also Monday nights when the fire hall meets, I work. So that would be a scheduling conflict on my end. And then also the RCMP as well. I think that would be more in the day stuff. Anyways, that's fine. But if I may, while I still have the floor, I've proposed this idea before, but I think there needs to be more structure around the portfolios. They need to be as intentional and strategic as possible. Therefore, I believe, not a policy, but essentially just a guideline. Okay, so what is the purpose of each thing, right? They provide some sort of service to the community, there are some benefit to the community, there's some sort of relationship and connection, board to board, or strategic or otherwise. I think we should be very thoughtful, very mindful with how we approach our portfolios. Therefore, I think, especially with the new CAO, with looking at our OCP, with all the directions and speed that we've gained recently, I think we should take some time to consider what the portfolios look like. And what I'm thinking is defining what the expectations or suggested expectations are of counselors who attend the meeting. What are they bringing back to this meeting so that we are informed of what those portfolios are, right? Because they're liaising with those bodies.
And sort of what the community buy-in is, or the community.
What we're bringing back,
yeah.
right? What we offer, and then what we're bringing back, and then for the essentially the entities which we provide a granted aid, what are our expectations there, and then what comes back, which could be a little more like quarterly reports or annual reports and strategic plans and whatnot, kind of a flow down. But there are, the risk with it is there are many hundreds, potentially thousands of boards in this region that do lovely, wonderful, fantastic things. What do we need connections with? What are fantastic on their own and we don't essentially need to have connections with every single one? Therefore, I think we should take some time between now and the next meeting to take some considerations. I'd like to actually present a suggestion myself as to how they'd be structured, and then what the expectations could be. Because there are layers to this. And this is an exciting thing because I actually think it can be more intentional than it currently is.
Councillor Wall?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Rabble, are you suggesting mandate letters?
No.
No. Okay.
What?
That's what it sounded like to me. It just,
What I'm understanding from
that's what it sounded like.
what I'm understanding from what Councillor Rabble said is that, the village of Coos Coopee has been slowly adding more and more portfolios over the past few years, and some of them haven't really gone back to be like, okay, is this still beneficial for the community, right? And so you're really wanting to see if, one, all the ones that we're still connected to, are these still beneficial? And two, are there maybe some other ones like the Chamber of Commerce that could be a better fit for the community?
Yes.
I think that's a great point. I really, really do. Because those are things that we have all talked about multiple times. I know it's things that community members have definitely brought up. And so, really we do, again, new fresh eyes. I think there's a policy on the portfolios already. I don't think it's been updated in quite some time. But
2017 or 2018.
yeah. But, Councillor Rabble does make a really good point, because we have spoken about in the past the fact that we don't have a single one of us who sits on the Chamber of Commerce board, yet we're members. Like, that's another phenomenal group that we don't have anybody for. I'm not sitting on it. You guys aren't sitting on it. And it's just, it kind of became one of those, well, it's not listed, so we don't really think about it, right?
Well, I guess the question could be, what is listed that doesn't need to be listed anymore?
That's what I think
Yeah.
Councillor Rabble's getting at. And I actually do think he makes a phenomenal point.
Strategic value and strategic alignment.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
you know what I'm thinking? My recommendation to this council would actually be to bounce this back to staff and just really have them investigate the things that we've just spoken about.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to put that motion on the floor then.
Can we do the swap first so that it's not a scheduling conflict? If it does stay the same.
If I may.
Yes.
This is to discuss 25, January 1st to December 31st. We have another meeting in December.
We do.
Another 2 meetings in December.
Yeah.
Therefore, to the member opposite, I believe that we would have.
More than enough time.
Opposition now.
That's parliamentary because I have to go through the check.
He's
So,
doing good. I'm feeling it.
so well, ironically, we're actually accomplishing nothing because we're just tabling everything.
That's fine though.
But then, anyways, I think there's a matrices between what kind of what service is it? Is it health? Is it seniors? Is it education? Is it tourism? And then flow through that, what boards are relevant to that, and then to what is essential, what's a default requirement. We are required with the PRD, we are part of that confederation.
We're required with NDIT.
We're required with NDIT. There are requirements that are non-negotiables. Then there's the service granted aid folks like museum and the library that are required as well. And then there's the ones which are interest and relevance, right? Which are kind of not required, but let's see what's our strategic. And that's probably the niche I'm talking about here, is how do we utilize our time? We have limited time. We only have 5 bodies. How do we do the best we can? And then the other thing too is some of these might be operational conversations as well, right? If it's a connection with certain agency or whatnot, sure, we can have that operationally, but you know, it doesn't need to be held at our level. Anyways, I won't belabor the point. I appreciate the sympathy to this.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. Should we have a workshop on talking about where we all come together and we discuss what we've done with our portfolios and whether or not we think it's...
Give this man 3 workshops and now he's workshop addicted. You see how this works? It's like a gateway problem, you know? I think what might be very beneficial is I think to have staff go back, look at the policy from 2017 and just sort of look into what we've been getting from these portfolios as of now. And one of the best ways they could probably do that is by going off of our 2024 list, just having a simple conversation. How many meetings were you going to? What benefit did you get out of going there? And then really look into like, I know the South Peace Health, right? Like, you know, they're running smoothly, they're doing great. We don't really need to be going in much. We donated money to help it get built.
But it's built.
But at this point in time, it's done, and they come to us every year and kind of give us a big update, right? So do we really need somebody sitting there? And so I think really we could streamline this quite quickly by just using the old telephone. Like it's super fast, right? So I think let's start there. So I'm gonna put the motion on the floor. We table this for now. Have staff look into it, look into the policy, and bring it back in December.
Absolutely. And I'll probably have some follow-up emails to each respective member of Mayor and Council just regarding scope and align outcomes results from the previous portfolios.
Sounds great. Okay, and that was seconded by Councilor Johnston. Thank you very much.
And a small ask, can we, to all mayor and council, can we get the bylaw and the policies, any relevant kind of
Information.
just kind of sent out to us and then we can digest it and then, I think that would be helpful too. So does that require a motion as well?
No. He's listening.
What about the swapping? What about the swapping, the stuff?
We'll focus on this one. When it comes back, I'll make sure it's already
We'll have something ready for December 4th.
Okay.
And then we still have December 18th after that.
Yeah.
If we have any other, let's say, deliberations, or if we have to table once more.
Yeah.
Okay.
No worries. I will totally swap them. I think that you guys made awesome points. Okay. All those in favor? And that is really wonderful. Thank you. I know we are tabling a lot of things, but it's for good reasons. And frankly,
Wait for information.
that's right. Okay. Moving on to 10 correspondence. So 10.1. Well, actually, okay, yes.
I'll make a motion.
Well, hang on. I really want you to talk about 10.2, but I got to piece out.
Okay, fine. I'll make the motion to accept.
Bylaw?
I'll make the motion to accept 10.1 and 10.3 as information.
You just want to accept them as information? You want to talk about them?
What do we have to talk
We
about?
want to talk about.
Don't you want to talk about 10.3?
Oh yeah, 10.1 is information. Yeah. I'll
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to accept 10.1 as information? That's been seconded by Councilor Rabble. Any other discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to 10.2. Gentlemen, I'm going to have to recuse myself because I am the president of the Young Life Dawson Creek. So, we'll go away.
Who becomes chair?
Who becomes chair? You. There you go.
You're the boss. Oh, wait, no, it's me.
Woodall or Wall?
Well,
No, it's December. No, it's
it's
November.
December. So it's Woodall, and then if it's not Woodall, it's who's next?
Johnson.
Wall. Councilor Wall, do you accept being chair?
Sure.
Perfect. I just want copy.
10.2 correspondence.
Hang on, let me leave the room.
Anybody want to read it?
There you go.
That council accepts correspondence for information from Young Life Dawson Creek.
Seconder. Councillor Johnston, wonderful discussion. Councillor Rebel?
So a letter of support is what they're asking for.
I think they're a wonderful organization. They do a lot with the youth in our area. I'll put the motion that we grant them a letter of support, not seeing any other discussion. Councillor Rebel?
Should we request that staff draft a letter of support and then it comes back to us at the next available meeting?
We can have that ready for December 4th.
Perfect. Okay, so the motion is, council direct staff to write a letter of support and bring it back to council for December 4th for approval. Okay. Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Discussion on that motion. Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimously carried. All right. I will call a 2-minute recess to grab the mayor.